Yes, we are now live. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Plan Your 2018 webinar. My name is Kate Stillman. I'm here with my buddy, Grace Edison. You want to say hi, Grace?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm so glad to be here with Kate. I'm going to be answering any questions you guys have in the chat, so feel free to let her fly, and I'll respond to you.
Yeah, and many of you are already in Changemaker Challenge and have come in and have met Grace through that. And if you're not, you can get into that Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group at yogahealthcoaching.com/challenge. Grace will put the link in there. So first of all, I just love many of you know, I've been on webinars with me in the past. I recognize a lot of names here. You guys know I really dig doing free webinars. I think it's a cool way for us to connect. Now that we're using Zoom, it's fun to it's a little easier, and we can do a little Q&A at the end. So my plan is to talk for about 60 minutes, and I'm not honestly quite sure. I have a lot of slides. I have more slides than I can probably get through. And I have my whiteboard behind me, which I've become this insane fan of. I've always been a fan of teaching at the whiteboard. So I'm not really sure where we're going to go. And it's partially going to depend on what's going on in our chat window. So my assumption is that if you are here, that you are indeed a wellness pro. I know many of us don't call ourselves that, right? It's kind of this weird name. A lot of us don't call ourselves healers either. They kind of like died at the stake with the witches, but I want to bring it back because these words are powerful. It's powerful when we actually step into our own professionalism and what that means for the world, and what that means for the world today, right? Where we're looking at a lot of different levels of disintegration in people's bodies and people's minds and people's families. And so the holistic wellness wisdom that you have is important, and it's important to me that you get that out there into your community, right? That you are as effective as you can be, that you are as healthy as you can be, that you are as abundant and connected to universal energy and the massive abundance that's always available as you can be. All of that is what brings me to this conversation today. And so what I'm going to be sharing a little bit with you is some of the key lessons I think are most important going into 2018. And all I have to say is my guess is this webinar is not what you expect it to be, because it's not really what I expect it to be. Does that have you nervous, Grace? Or just excited?
I'm always excited. I'm never nervous with you.
Oh, good. I'm glad I have someone.
I trust you so much. You've no idea.
So much, it's dangerous. All right. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go into a little screen share action here, and we're going to whiz through a few slides just to get on the right, just to get off to the right start. Okay, keynote. Bam. It'll take a second, but you guys should be able to see my screen. Yeah, it's there. Wellness Pros, annual planning. Okay, so how many people do annual planning? I wish I could have my chat window open at the same time. You'll just have to tell me what's coming through, Grace. But How many people actually sit down and go through a process of annual planning and take time and develop a strategic plan? Yeah, good. I'm glad to see a few you're doing that. To me, it's very important that we do this, and I have done a few trainings on this already, so I'm not going to repeat what I've said in the past. Grace will put in the chat window a link. If you just Google Grace, yoga healer strategic planning, I think a podcast will come up where I talk about my Al Swat style and how I go through a process of accomplishments, lessons learned, strengths, weaknesses, and strategic issues to develop a strategic plan. So I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that again here because our time is precious, and if I've already recorded something, that's the benefit of recording something, is you don't have to say it again. Anyone who's not employing recording in your profession, you're probably finding you're repeating yourself until you go blue in the face and you're like, if I have to explain to someone how to have a bowel movement again, oh my gosh. So what we're going to talk about today then is going to be a little different. And this is really the key here, is a plan based on an outdated strategy is a, drum roll, bad plan. And this is the shakedown today. That's why I'm like, where we're going to go is into some unexpected territory, because most of you are operating in, and I mean most, and I don't mean this in a judgmental way at all. It's just, I'm a futurist. I'm an innovator. I've been in the sort of the global online Ayurveda holistic yoga game for a while, and I have a ton of experience. I work hard, at what I do, and I've been at it for a long time, and I coach a lot of people, and I see a lot of things, and I myself am in advanced trainings all the time. Ask Grace. True? Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you now.
Well, I was thinking about this last night after you and I talked yesterday. It's so cool because everything that you're learning in your mastermind groups, which are high level, like for me anyway, it's like you bring that in and we get to learn that as you're like learning more and more. Like everything's always changing and you're always bringing more in, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think really that's the benefit of as this whole model is, it's based on something that's continually evolving and working, right? And so that's what I'm going to share with you. I'm revamping a lot of programs right now based on like quicker, better, faster ways to get people to end results, including wellness pros to better results in their careers, which means to me a few things. One, your people are getting more well, more fast, right? In real time, like they're getting the results. They're losing their autoimmune issues and conditions. They're becoming healthier. They're losing the weight. They're sleeping better, they're pooping better, they're feeling better, they're eating healthier, their kids are eating healthier, they're more interconnected in their family and relationships, like the shit that matters, right? You are getting that done, and you're getting better at that all the time. So let's just say that's A, right? And then B, like same goes for you. Like you're feeling better, you have more time, you have more energy, you have more freedom in your own lifestyle design. That's something that anyone who knows me personally knows. It's a really important thing. Actually, I'm going to show you my next slide. Is like me and my husband just got these new bikes this week. These are the fat tire bikes. His bike has a 5-inch tire. Mine's a 4.8-inch. It's snowing. It's been snowing. I tilt my camera over there to Grand Targhee and the Grand Teton, which is right outside my window here, but it'd take too much time. But there's a lot of snow in those mountains. And so the idea is like whatever makes you happy is actually really important to pay attention to. And if what makes you happy is just sitting down and having time to read a book and having a lot of money in your bank account, having some financial freedom and getting better at your own financial freedom year after year, then that's actually important for you to live into that, because that's important for you getting your clients results. And it's actually, and this is a big part of what I'm going to talk about today, it's really important to where your clients, your students, your patients, depending on your relationship with your people, where they want to go next. Right? It has so much to do with you being you. All right, I'm going to show you a few more pictures. This is just from the Rapid City retreat we had with the Yoga Healer course members and yoga health coaches. That's Batula Morelli right here in the middle. Can you see my mouse? So I'm like, she's the Indian woman, next to me, and she hosted us at her gorgeous hotel in Rapid City, and it was a total blast. So what's important to me as a human being is like getting outside, being in nature, and having very deeply connected, very evolutionary relationships. And so that's what experiences that I do are based on. And this is what you want to be asking yourself is like, what is truly most important to you? And how are you building that into your client, course member, patient experience? And that's what you want to be attention to. Because remember, a plan based on an outdated strategy is a bad plan. If you don't have a good strategy for 2018, right, a good strategy for what you're building, where you're going, the direction you're going, then like you will honestly just repeat what you've done in the past, maybe with some different characters in there, maybe with some different, honestly, dramas in there for a lot of people, right? But you'll just kind of repeat them because the momentum of the past carries into the future. So what we're talking about today in many ways is like how to have an annual plan based on a good strategy so that as you're planning your next year, that you're planning it from a place where you're thinking of what your people really need. You're thinking of what you really want, and you're designing based on that. All right, so for those who don't know me, that's another picture of me. This is an old one because my kid is only she looks like she's about 5 there, and now she's 9. I just love this picture. There's a swing in our yard. That's my old greenhouse in the back. I wrote a book called Body Thrive. I think a lot of you people already know me, but in case any of you don't, it's based on condensing the habits of yogis, the habits of Ayurvedic medicine, into a book and into a plan that combines the ancient wisdoms, traditions with modern behavioral science. Like, this is how you actually change a habit. And the reason I wrote this book is I was tired of repeating myself, right? I think a lot of you can relate who've been in the wellness field for a long time. And you're like, if I have to show someone how to open their hips one more time, right? And so that's why I wrote the book. It's like, there's these habits. They're hard to change, but I can help you make it easier to change them. And when you change your habits, when you evolve your habits, you experience an abundance of energy. You experience deeper sleep. You experience alignment. You experience quietness in your day. And without these habits, you can expect more or less your immune system to fall apart in this day and age. And everyone here on the call can put little, how many people do you know? How many people are you working with that have immune issues, that have autoimmune issues, that are struggling with their sleep, with their energy, that are struggling with their body weight, with their muscle tone, right? And what we can see is that if we don't have solid habits that just simply align us to the renewal function in nature and the self-renewal, the cellular renewal function, then we will get sick. So I wrote that book. What I want to tell you is where this webinar is going. You, at any point, if you have a bunch of questions, you can just write those questions down and schedule a conversation with Grace. That's what she's here for. Grace will cut and paste this link and put it in the window. It's have a career conversation. So there's a lot that I'm going to say. We're not going to have time to go over all the little points of it. So just in the back, this is the pitch. This is the only pitch we're making today. So you don't have to brace yourself for a pitch later. This is the only pitch we're making, is that if you have questions that come up, you get to talk to Grace. Okay, now everyone can relax. Okay, so let's get on with this. Oh, I have to show, can I show your spiritual as fuck t-shirt? I think this is so funny. Grace is spiritual as we're not allowed to say the swear word. And that's who Grace is. I don't know, Grace, do we want to, Grace is a mom. She has twins. She's been a yoga teacher. She's been in finance coaching. She works for me at Yoga Healer, and she has her own business, which I fully support her creativity in on a number of levels. And she's amazing. So it's cool to be able to talk to Grace. She's also probably the easiest person you'll ever talk to. Honestly, I say things to Grace. I'm like, I don't say that to anybody. She's so open that all of a sudden, and what happens is you have a lot of connection, and she can really hear the question behind the question, which honestly, well, you and I were talking about this, Grace, yesterday, how and this is actually for those of you who are in Changemaker Challenge, that it's our Facebook group. Just about how often there's a question behind the question, and most people we're talking to about our careers, they don't understand the whole path. They can't see the forest for the trees. And so it's really hard to, get someone asking you the question behind the question. And there's always a question behind the question. So it's worth it to be able to, it's important to me that you guys rock as wellness pros. So you should talk to Grace. Okay. Enough said about that. Let's talk about big mistakes in your annual career planning. I've already talked about having the wrong strategy, but I haven't really gotten into what that is. I mean, what are some strategies out there? You've talked to a lot of people, Grace, that you see people they just have the wrong strategy.
Yeah, or no strategy at all often.
There's that. Strategy. I'm just busy doing all these things, right? Right.
And that's the thing. There's cultural kind of conditioning around being busy and having, I hear all the time, I have a lot of irons in the fire. I've talked a lot about this, and that to me is it's almost like an ingrained strategy. If I have a lot going on, then somehow something will catch. But what happens is the strategy actually ends up not working working in the opposite, we get so spread out, so thin, right? So then we're not really letting anything catch. And to me, that's the non-strategy strategy that I hear from people like constantly. They have so many ideas, they have so much going on, they can't really focus. This is where I always say, my dad used to say, dig one hole and dig it deep, right?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, excellent. Well, very well said. My dad would look at it's cool how like our dads had, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And so she was just like, you go girl. I'm like, yeah, I'm going and I'm busy, you know? And when I'm thinking like, whatever, 12, 15 years ago, when I was just like, didn't have a strategy, was trying everything. And I'm like, and I would tell my dad, be like, everything's working. And he's like, but where's the leverage? He'd always come back to me that. He's like, where's the leverage? And so I had to like look up leverage, and I'm like, lever, right? And I knew what leverage meant, but I'm like, what is the root behind the word? And a lever is where you just like apply a little bit of effort and a lot happens, And so lucky for me, and lucky for you, lucky for me, or lucky for the people that I've been working with, like he ingrained in my awareness, the strategy of thinking about leverage and building more and more leverage into my business model year after year. And so when I say like, I'm changing the business model for yoga health coaching, it's because I found a better lever. That's all. Like I just recently found, I'm like, oh, this lever is like 10 times lighter and it moves bigger rocks. We're going to use this one, right? So if you're asking yourself right now, like, where are you getting the most leverage? And you can put that in the chat window. You can take notes. You can write that down. Like, I need you to start thinking that way. And again, the reason you need to start thinking this way is, more people's immune systems are falling apart. More people are getting sicker. Like the child obesity rate, it's like not looking good. Like there's just real issues. People are really disconnected. Kids using technology, they're showing like kids' brains on technology are totally dysfunctional. It's so sad. Like as our children's brains are developing, as our teenagers' brains, as our young adults' brains are developing, and they're looking at that screen, they're not developing emotionally, which is so crazy and so dangerous. It's so dangerous. So you need to have a better lever because you have a lot of wisdom. And how you want to live your life, how you like to live your life, that's actually like a guiding light for how you can serve your clients, because they need to live more like you do. And that's another lever that we want to build that into your strategy. Okay, the second one, you don't have a proven system. Like most of you, like I'm sure if I ask Grace on this one, she's like, a proven system, there's just not a system, right? Like we're not building systems into our career. And if we don't have systems, we also don't have leverage. It's like if you're, a very basic example of this is like email templates. If you're emailing clients or patients or students and they ask you a question and you don't have like a cut and paste response, if you don't have like your FAQ doc where you're just giving them what they need because you've already written it, because you've already written 500 emails in the last year, right? And if you're not like cataloging, and so that you're saving yourself time and providing, better value, then it's a very basic example of a system. But you want to have larger systems for those things that you have leverage on. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the system that I'm teaching now to wellness pros and a little bit about the simplicity and the leverage in that. Okay, another big mistake in annual career planning, you don't have a guide as you head into new territory. I live in the mountains and a lot of my friends are mountain guides, like a lot of my friends who live here, people fly in from all over the world and they want to hike the Grand Teton, which is right there. And they don't pretend they can do it alone. They're smart enough to be like, I'm going to go with the guy who's done this like 50 times this summer. And he's going to tell me good stories and I'm going to have a good time. He's going to be able to prevent me from getting dehydrated. He's going to prevent me from tuckering out too soon. He's going to keep me entertained like all the while, which can help when the going gets tough. It's fun to be entertained. He's going to know the faster way. He's going to know how to read the weather ahead, which in our business is the changing marketplace. Like what's the weather ahead? He's going to know many of my female friends are also mountain guides and bike guides and ski guides and river guides and whatnot. They're going to know where the cruxes are. And they're also going to know how to get back. And so it was a great experience, so that it wasn't like and if I'm all by myself, they're going to find other people for me to go with who are right at my level and maybe a little bit ahead and maybe a little bit behind. And they're going to put together an amazing group so that we have a really cool experience together. And, you know, the idea of going into new territory without a guide, especially if you're trying to say you're earning $40,000 a year in your career and you see other people that are talking about like breaking 6 figures or whatnot. And you're like, I'm going to go for it. Well, if you don't have a guide, like honestly, like good luck, you know, because there's ways to make it much more difficult for yourself. If you don't know the way around that crux, and there are cruxes, there's a lot of cruxes in strategy, there's cruxes in systems, there's cruxes in the business model in general. And if you know those cruxes ahead of time and someone's like, you have a pivotal decision to make here. You can go this way and it means this, or you can go this way and it means that. What are you going to do? And the reason they know you're at that crux is because they've just guided like 40 other people through the crux. And they know that if you don't have a guide through that crux, you just end up like sitting there for a while. And then the storm clouds come in and you're like, I give up. And you go back down the mountain.
Well, and I was just going to say, like, the thing is like having a guide who's done it enough times ahead of you. Often we kind of congregate with people who are all in the same spot and we're all like, okay, what are we going to do here? And we don't figure it out nearly as fast. It's like you talk about going up the mountain with a bunch of people who've never gone up that mountain before. And it's like, now we're all going to get lost and give each other bad advice. Right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I laugh, but it's like, it's true. And I was at a crux a few weeks ago. And so what do I do? Like, I call my guide. I'm like, what, WTF? What does it take? Persistence in this case? Do I just keep trying? Does it take a different, piece of wisdom, strategy? Does it take, what does it take? And having someone who gets it and they're like, oh yeah, because at that point, and it doesn't matter, this is what I find so fascinating. It doesn't matter if you're already at 6 figures and trying to get to $250,000 or $250,000 trying to get to $500,000 or whatever. At each phase, it's a different crux. It requires a different skill set, and each one trips me up, and I get like, when you're in it, when you're in the crux, you aren't able to make decisions. And it's really easy to be like, you know what? I'm happy with fill in the blank number of income, fill in the blank number of impact, number of people whose lives yours impacts a year, right? And it's really easy to be like, oh, that's good enough. I know it is for me. And if it is for me, I know it is for most of you. So this is a big thing is when you actually set a goal that feels scary and big as you're planning your 2018 and you're thinking like, what's my bottom line? What do I want to see on my tax return? Right? Like, how many lives do I want to impact? How am I going to actually make that happen? Right? And if you're setting that number to increase significantly, which I do every single year, right? And then you start to get like, it's going to get tough at some point because you're going into unknown territory. That if there's someone there that can actually be like, oh yeah, call me when it gets really hard, that's super helpful. Okay, so if you don't have that, then that's a mistake. You want to actually build that in to your planning of like, who is that person in your life? Okay, not having peer support, we covered that, and building your plan on limited knowledge and past experience. If you're not in, all I have to say is like, if you're not in career training and you want to grow your career, like good luck with that. Like, honestly, like I pray for you because I don't know how that happens. I just honestly don't. Like, if you want to learn a different language, like go hang out with people speaking that language. Like we're human beings, we're social creatures. It's so much faster to learn from what other people are doing and from each other. And to assume that you know how to do something that you don't know how to do yet, and to assume that you'll be able to learn that on your own is, in behavioral science, it's just like, that fails, we've got research on that. So often we build the wrong plan. Even in our best annual planning, we build the wrong plan. I have 3 people helping me with annual planning. you know, besides my team. Like I have 3 people who are like gonna go over my plan and be like, yep, we're solid on that, or like, nope, I don't think you can do that too, or I think there's an easier way, or whatnot. And so it's important to be thinking in this way if we're wanting to, if you're like me, and like part of my annual plan for 2018 is like, I really want more people eating thistle around the world. Like it's so important to me that we educate ourselves as human beings that the invasive weeds are edible, and that if we spray them with petrochemicals, we ruin our water supply and we decrease our nutrient supply simultaneously. It's the stupidest thing I can see. And I'm just curious. So part of that annual plan for me is like, how do I actually start to impact this in my county? How do I get a spray-free county going on? Like, how do I make an impact? There's also the financial side of increasing revenue and blah, 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 blah. And we're going to get into that too. All right. So what's your plan? Can you write your plan right now in just like 3 or 4 bullet points? Because it should be pretty simple to write. So just whenever you're planning, whatever you're wanting to do, what is that? So I want you all just to take a moment. You can either add stuff into the chat window, or you can just write it in your own notes. Oh, good. I can see the chat at the same time. And so what I want to talk a little bit about next is this idea that you are a lifestyle brand, right? This whole sense of what you do and what you want is a big part of what people are wanting who are connecting with you. So many of you have invested in an entirely different way than your clients, your students, or your patients. Right. And once you start to understand this, if you actually like go back and calculate, like how much have you invested in wellness wisdom, whether that's yoga classes, whether that's a specific holistic wellness training. For me, it was Ayurvedic medicine. For you, it may have been Chinese medicine. For some of you, it may have been naturopathy. For some of you, it might be homeopathy. For some of you, it's essential oils. For some of you, it's you're a fitness expert, right? And you just know a ton about body and biomechanics. Some of you are doctors, some of you are nurses. And at the end of it though, when you look at like all of your accumulated wellness wisdom and you look at like, how are you living your life? How are you designing your day-to-day, right? That's where often people are actually looking for points of connection. So when we start to understand this, that it's not the information, because the information's free on YouTube. It's free on Google, right? Most university programs are opening their curriculums up. They're just being like, you want to learn? It's free everywhere else, so it's going to be free here too. So it's not the information that people are wanting from you. What it really is how do they start to live that? And how can they access what you know faster, so that they don't have to go to school for it, right? So that they don't have to put all this time into going through all of the information in order to get the real gems that'll impact their relationships, that'll impact their quality of sleep, that'll impact what their day-to-day feels like, what'll impact the rebuilding of their immune system. So if you start to get more and more that like how you live your life is built into your brand, then it all starts to really start to make sense. So the question you want to ask when you're planning your strategy is, what experiences will help them get the results they're after? And so take a moment now and write some notes here, like what experiences will help them get the results they're after. And so when you look at this, the first part of that question really is like, what results are your people after? for each of the different courses that I teach, we look at really different results. So for instance, like in Body Thrive, which is based on the book, The 10 Habits in 10 Weeks, it's, can we get people to like, what results are they after? They're after deeper sleep. They're after more consistent energy. They're often after more energy, period. They're often after getting their family habits in alignment with the kind of day-to-day flow they desire to experience. If everyone's kind of like overscheduled and it's sort of chaotic and whatnot, often people are after a deeper experience of nourishment. What they're after is a deeper connection to their ecosystem, but they're never going to say that, right? They don't know that, but it's the why behind the why behind the why, right? That they want to feel connected. They don't want to feel estranged. And many people are so in their heads, they're out of their bodies, they're out of their ecosystems. And so what experiences will help them get that? How can I design, right, my strategy for them, which is part of my career strategy for me, into what will actually help my people get what they want? And once we have an idea about what that is, we can start to design an experience for it. And when you start to design the experience after what people want, I have a picture here of a woman who's buff and a mortar and pestle with a bunch of leaves and seeds in it. When we start to really understand what experiences will help them get the results, and we design that into a package, like we really take responsibility for like what are they gonna need, and what would also be fun? What do they want? So you have wants and you have needs. And you build something for them to do that. Now you actually have an effective strategy. Now I'm going to take it off screen share for a second. Pause, share. Can you see me again? No? Yeah? Do you still see the slides?
Yeah.
You see the slides too?
I can see the slides.
Oh, I see. Stop share. There we go. And we're back. Yeah, so this brings up a lot. This brings up a lot of things about when we take the responsibility of designing the experience. One of the things that we didn't talk about in where a lot of people fail in strategies is they forget that it's their responsibility to get their clients to the end results. And the way that I see this show up the most is, say you're a holistic practitioner. Like I was trained as an Ayurvedic medicine practitioner, and there was this assumption that like people would call you when they needed your help, and that they knew enough to be able to call, basically schedule and reschedule and reschedule and reschedule until they really got what they needed to overcome their dis-ease pattern. And the same thing, I went through a number of yoga teacher training certifications, Iyengar and Anusara, the highest standards in the industry at the time. And there was kind of this assumption there too, that like people that needed to, come to yoga for the reasons they were coming to yoga for would get what they needed on their own just by, showing up. And the problem that I find with this is it is holistic practitioners, yoga teachers, et cetera, not taking responsibility for when someone hears your name or hears that you could be useful to them in some way, that the practitioner teacher doesn't take the time to stop and connect and be like, hey, let's schedule a time to sit down and find out what's going on with you. And if I can help you, if I can design an experience to get you to your end results. And if I can do both those things, that I then let you know the transaction fee for that. I mean, it seems so simple, right? Like, are you serious? Like we don't do this. Now, one of the things that I know from having been helping people thrive for a long time, I started yogahealer.com in 2001. Right now we're going into 2018, right? So I've been not new to this. Is one thing I discovered pretty early on is that people evolve much faster in groups. So if I know that, and there's a lot of science that says the same thing, if you're trying to make changes and you're going it alone, you're making it 7 times harder, right? Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of times. It's a lot of percentages. So if I know that as a wellness pro, that if I'm really hell bent on getting people end results, right? If I'm in it for impact, like I want to have healthier communities, I want to have a healthier planet, I want to have healthier ecosystems. Like that's what I've devoted my life to. That's what you, chances are, if you're here, have devoted your life to, because like you get it. It's important. And you get that if someone doesn't feel good in their body, they're not actually thriving in their families, they're not thriving in their communities. Right? You get the interconnected nature of, and you also get when people, their body might be healthy, but their spiritual development might be really limited, right? And that really impacts also their ability to connect and contribute. And so you get the importance of all this. And then you take that responsibility upon yourself to help the person invest in getting the results that they want. And this, in my experience with yoga health coaches, like this takes quite a bit of training to help people do this in a way that is easeful and graceful and truly, deeply just helpful, just heart to heart of like, hey, guess what? You know, if you want to get there faster, there's a way to do it. And this is how that goes. And you lay it and you take the time to deeply understand if you can help them. You take the time to design an experience that includes a group because it's faster and better and more fun. And you take the time to help them understand like that they can get there. Because most people don't believe the results they can get. At least most people that work with me, like they have no idea. I mean, they have no idea. Most wellness pros have no idea how much money they could actually be making. You know, like most people with autoimmune diseases don't have, you know, we have a million, it seems like, of these blogs and podcasts now on yoga health coaching on that website that like talk about just people dialing in their habits and the benefits that they experience, you know, like, wow, now I know exactly what to do to stabilize and grow my energy. Like I know how to shoot myself in the foot and I also know how to soar like an eagle. This is, you know, this is life-changing. And I know you all have testimonials like that as well. So when you bundle all that together and all that you know, really the question is like, how do you take the responsibility when someone hears your name or someone walks into your yoga classroom or someone walks into your office, that you take the time without charging them for that time to find out who they are, what's going on, how old the patterns are, what they've tried, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what they really want, how bad they really want it. Because if someone doesn't want it bad enough, like no thanks, we're not ready, we're not good, like you can go work with someone else. But if you're actually ready to change and grow and like get to the results that you kind of want, and because you actually don't kind of want them, you actually like, they are the most important thing in your life right now, then like, okay, I can make you an offer to work with you because I only work with people that are all in. Right? And so when we start to get that is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to assess. It's our responsibility to have an offer that gets the people to the results that they want. It's our responsibility to put together groups of people that are into transformative change. It's our responsibility to create dynamic conversations where people can sit down and they can concentrate, right? Where they're not distracted. It's not in line at the grocery store when people are like, oh, can you help me with my fill in the blank? That's not an appropriate time to have this conversation, right? And that you build this all into your strategy for your career plan. How are you going to be investing your time so you have time for these conversations? Because if you don't have these time for these conversations, you're not going to be able to deliver the kind of experience that you can most, you know, really that only you uniquely can deliver, that you are the most qualified to deliver, and that you honestly will have like the time of your life delivering. At least that's what I've learned in the last 17 years at yogahealer.com. All right, so any questions on that you can put in the window, and I'm gonna see if I can, you know, I'm gonna try out the board here. Let me see if the board works. See if you guys can see this. It all depends on my lighting. But the way that I think of it is you have a bus. Yeah, it works, right, Grace? We're good, kind of good, good enough?
Yeah, it's great. It's totally fine. We can see it. I can see it great.
You can see my bus. I'm going to put a door on the bus. I'm going to put a window on the bus. And so this is the idea, is you're designing an experience. And this is the model that we use in yoga health coaching. You have a bus, you are the bus driver, and you get to sell bus tickets, right? For people to get on your bus. And when they get on the bus, they get to go to the results, which have a lot to do also, this is really kind of a cool thing. It has a lot to do with the experience to getting the results. So this is an interesting thing. Like if someone asks you, like say you're here because you know that I'm not afraid to make money, and you're wanting to talk about that because so few people are, and you know it's like you can have a good time making more money or you can have a bad time making more money. This is, you know, the results here is making more money. Say as a wellness pro, just in this example, for the people who are getting on your bus, the result is sleeping better, eating better, feeling better, rebuilding their immune system, right? Those are the results. Same results. What's the experience like? Like, how much fun do you have? Like, who do you want to hang out with? Right? Like, how cool do you want that experience to be on the way to the results? Because if you're anything like me, and if you're anything like the boomers who have money, right? It's like you're way more interested, or you're way more interested in the kind of experience you can have on the way to the results. You're not just interested in the results. And the reason I point out the boomers is because they have the advantage of more time circling around the sun. They have the advantage of more wisdom, right? More lived wisdom. They know that the experience is super important. So when you're designing your bus ride, like where's this bus going and what's the experience going to be like in getting there with your group of people, right? Just know that like you and your lifestyle get to really impact that experience, because chances are that's really what they're wanting. And this is something that we often don't realize. Like, how do we build that in? How do we build that into what we're designing for them? Because when we do this right, and I'm going to go back to do I want to go back to slide share? Let me see. No, I'm going to stay here. When we do this right, what we actually can find is that we have to ask them a lot of questions, so that in those little sessions that we're doing with them, when we're finding out like, hey, what results do you actually want? Right? What are you actually wanting to experience? That when we are able to sit down and talk and listen, we're then able to design that experience, right? And we're able to design it so much better than we would have had we just sat down by ourselves and tried to design that experience for them, right? And what we can find is like, oh, they need to learn how to cook, or they need to learn how to cook with vegetables, or they don't have a juicer, or their pantry is a mess, or their refrigerator has all this, prepackaged stuff, and their freezer's full of frozen prepackaged stuff, and like they don't know how to nourish themselves. Like, but we might not really know that unless we sit down and talk to them. So once we get the understanding that, like, when if we have like everybody here that's like, kind of curious about this bus, right? And if we get that, like, you get to actually communicate. Here's you, right? Like, you get to actually communicate with them about what this is, that you go into this much more co-creative designing experience. And that's so informed, because you'll find that you're making assumptions that, you just didn't realize. So what often happens then is we can create an experience that gets people to the results, but we don't know how to actually sell this ticket. My tickets are not cheap because I want to have an amazing experience, right? And you'll find that there's just not people lining up to buy your tickets. If you're normal, that's usually a big issue for wellness pros. So there's a lot, you remember before when I talked about like needing different trainings in order to learn, I think it was, let me just look at the slide and see exactly what I said. It was on, you build your plan based on limited knowledge and past experience. If you have, I mean, just ask yourself right now, like, what is the highest dollar ticket you've sold? And for some of you, it's a few $100s. For some of you, it's a few $1,000s. For some of you, it may be, somewhere above that. It might be between $5,000 and $10,000. So when I look at, career planning, I'm really looking at how many people can I get results a year? Like how many people can I even have in this experience? How many people can I get to those results a year with the kind of experience we want to have? And then based on that, how can I plan my time so that I help the people actually get ready to invest? Because if they don't invest, they can't get on the bus, they can't get the results. I know it's so obvious. Like, doesn't this stuff, it's like, yeah, duh, of course. And so this is really where it gets interesting, right? Because if say you decide like really to get people results and you sit with it and you kind of like go through it, it's like, it's going to cost a few $1,000s. Maybe the bus ride takes about a year. Like, how long does it take to get people to the results that they really want? I find to get people to habit automation takes 12 months. I don't know about you. I am able to get amazing results in 10 weeks, but to stabilize and then to start to really get leverage with those results, it takes longer. But after 10 weeks, like people are here and they're like, they see like the sky's the limit. Like they don't want to get kicked out. They don't want to get kicked off the bus after 10 weeks. And so if I know this ahead of time, and if I start to build this in, right, what this does is it starts to give us, it starts to help me know what it takes to get people results. If you get good at selling tickets, right, this is just a skill, okay? This isn't luck, this is a skill. It takes practice. It takes practice getting people results.
I think that's the biggest thing that people don't realize, and I want to like hover over that for a second.
Sure.
Is that skill piece that I often hear people say like I'm just not good at that, or like it's something that's a fixed issue, when really it's have you ever been taught, have you ever learned how to talk about the value that they're going to receive so that they understand what the exchange is? Can you talk a bit more about that? I feel like that's really important for people to understand. Like, that's a skill. That's something we learn to do. Just like we wouldn't show up and teach a yoga class not having ever taken any yoga classes ourselves.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yes. What Grace said. Yeah. And I wish I could just be like, download this app into your brain and so that you get good at this part. Because they can't get on the bus without the ticket. And most of you are not good at understanding soulful selling, and it's
can I say,
yeah, go ahead.
Like, Kate mentioned my background was in financial planning, and as a financial advisor for over 11 years, I could see that most people have money, right? We're talking North America, like most people have money.
Or credit. Access to money.
Yeah, access to money. And there is it's about priorities. And so that skill, the development and talking about like our ticket price and our value has a lot to do with being able to talk to people about their own values and where their priorities lie. And that's why I really wanted to pause for a second and say, like, this is a skill, and it's something we also have to work through our own mindset with, in terms of what's the language about being able to afford something. Can you not afford something, or is it just not high up on the level of priority? And that's what I saw when I would go into people's homes and they would say, oh, we can't afford to do those investments or get that life insurance or save for our kids' education or whatever it was. But then I would look around and see really big screen TVs and lots of really nice furniture. It's all about priority and being able to have the skill to talk to people about like, how important is this to you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and then you and I have done a podcast on like how much money you end up selling. If you're here, if you're at these results, you know, and many of you know the term, and many of you don't, lifetime customer value. And then and you can look at this of like, what is the value of this ticket? What is the lifetime value of that ticket? If the ticket gets them to the results, and this is where it's like, you got to be good, you guys, like you got to get good at getting people to results. You got to get focused on that. You know, and this is where my great teachers and as holistic practitioners, they, some of them were just amazing at like keep re-engineering and we're re-engineering everything all the time. Like every course gets re-engineered every so often, right? Because we figure out how to get people to results faster and have a better time, right? And then we keep re-engineering this part too, of like, how do you get people who hear of you? How do you get them so that they're actually ready to get on the bus? Because I don't want anyone on my bus that's not ready to be there. If everyone else is ready to be there, that like one person's gonna like, it's like trying to get up the mountain and one person's not in shape. Like, no. That's why like my friends who are the guides for the Grand, they're like, okay, this is what you're doing. You know, 6 months out, this is what you're doing. 4 months out, this is what you're doing. 2 months out, this is what you're doing. We're 1 month out, this is what you're doing day by day by day by day to get ready to get on this bus. Because when we get on this bus, we are going somewhere, right? We're not like dawdling in the parking lot. We're pulling out of the station and we're going to the results, because time is money, time is awareness, right? It matters. So once we start to understand, this is what strategy looks like, you guys. This is what a good strategy looks like for anyone out there who's looking to up their impact, who's looking to up their income. What I have found from this business model, and let me just give an example too. Say your bus ride ticket price is $3,000 and you want to work with 35 people a year. Like, man, now you have a six-figure income, right? Now, if you're already at a six-figure income, but you want to do it in less time, easy enough. Say you're really good at what you do. This number is totally flexible. Totally flexible. For some of you, you can charge, that can be a 10 once you get good enough, right? And you can still just work with 35 people a year. And now you're over the $250,000 mark. And, you know, and getting here, for some of you, like you could never sell anything more than $1,000. Well, great. You know, this number is also variable. So if you're only selling your ticket for $1,000, but you want to work with, you know, say you want to work with 100 people a year, you're also at the six-figure mark. And then you're enrolling, say your bus leaves the station 4 times a year and you need to get 25 people. And to me, I don't want to go low numbers, because to me that's too much work. That's way too much work. So my bus ticket isn't going to be less than $3,000. I need to use a number that actually works in my head. But say it's $3,000 and it's 4 times a year. And I want to get, let's say I want 12 people on the bus. So, 4 times a year, 4 times 12 is 48 people on the bus. And then you just figure out like what you're charging. Let's say it's $3,000 for a bus ticket. Am I doing this right? 48,000 for, yeah, it's like, that's mad. You're making serious money at that point. So for some of you, like those numbers are way too high. So you just go with the numbers that work for you. In the beginning, you might just be like, okay, I'm going to charge $1,000 for my bus ticket. It's a year long, but we have the bus leaving 4 times a year. And then the people who get good at riding the bus, there's this whole thing I don't have time to get into called the lateral mesh that we'll go into. It's a really cool part of the structure. But if we have 4 times a year, 12 people per session coming in, right? So now we're at 48 times 1,000. Now at least we have a cool experience. We're having a better time. It's not that hard to enroll 12 people every 3 months. You're looking at enrolling 4 people a month, right? And now you have a good strategy. All right. So this is, for some of you, this is kind of like, this is a lot of a lot, and there's a lot going on back here. But this is what I'm talking about. I'm just going to go back to SlideShare for a minute. Dun, 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 dun. And we're back to SlideShare. You can see that here's a slide of me explaining this know, like, and trust, like how you actually get people ready to get on the bus. And what happens when you get on the bus is this growth trajectory. There's a lot that goes on. What I want to explain, for me, connecting people to the ecosystem is really important. So my bus rides include some time together outside. Like there we are, this is at a retreat here in the Tetons. This is just from Rapid City a couple of weeks ago. This is included in my bus ride, right? Like we're gonna go outside. We're gonna connect to our ecosystem. I'm gonna show you the weeds that are growing that you can eat. That's just gonna be part of it. We're gonna have an experience, and we're gonna be together, and we're gonna learn together live. But we're also gonna do some stuff virtually. In this day and age, you can design your bus ride for it's like the possibilities have never been, they've just honestly never been so infinite. So just in wrapping up today, what I want to describe a bit of is, just this reality, like distractions have never been greater for both you and for your clients, meaning they have a lot of different decisions to make. Like Grace was saying, like they're deciding whether to buy a big screen TV or deal with their autoimmune issue. Like really, like that's the reality, right? Unless you're making great money in great time and having a great time doing it, you have the wrong model, or you just need some skills. You need some different things to plug in. The reality too is that people want connectivity. They want to be together on this bus. They really do. They want to meet people that are like-minded, right? They want to meet other people who are on a growth trajectory. This is so important. Most people who are not full of energy and full of thrive and living their life that aren't experiencing the kind of financial freedom they want, they're not hanging out with other people that are doing that, okay? So, and they don't know that that's part of what gets them there faster. But if you know that and you're designing for that, it makes it so that you can get people to results faster. As soon as you start getting people to results faster, say the first experiences on your bus are free because you have no confidence in this. Right? But then you start to see like people are having a good time. People are getting results. Now you see there's value to it. Now you can sell your bus tickets, right? But then also you'll have other people helping you sell your bus tickets because they're like, this is amazing. And then they hear your name. And then you have a system to sit down and see like, what's it going to take them to get ready for their bus? They might need to start saving. They might need to start changing some habits. They might need some acculturation tools. And I'm trying to see if we have let me get that slide. That's my little acculturation tank there, that no like trust tank. All right. So the other, a few of the other realities is that, just to recap, is like as a holistic wellness pro, you've made time and money investments that your clients, your students, your members haven't. It's a good idea to tally those up. Figure out how much time and money you've put into knowing what you know. It's worth something. That's a strength that you want to leverage. And that'll help you also start to get the value of how your lifestyle is really tied into this experience. And you have this opportunity right now. You can create the coolest experience ever for people, and you can learn how to design and sell and deliver. You can learn how to improve that and then do it again, and then redesign it and improve it and do it again. And when you do that, like your life gets easier. I'm just going to show an example of like, this idea of making more money. When you have a system like that, this is part of our yoga health coaching system. People learn how to do this. We walk them through every step of the way. It's like all of a sudden you might find that like the workshops you're doing, the yoga classes that you're doing, or say you're doing one-on-one work with people, and you look at that number, but it's like, where's your lever? Do you have a system that levers? Right. And for those who are getting thrown off by the word of yoga health coaching, it's like, I'm always looking for other ways to describe what we do in here. It's the system for wellness pros to leverage their expertise, leverage their lifestyle to create a much better experience. And what I have found, I'm just going to show, this is what it looks like at that next level. You can take this, I'm using this, the same model at much higher levels, and with a team effect. So for those who are ready for that, you get that too. But I mean, this is what I start to see, in the forums and whatnot. This is from Liz. She says, I doubled my investment in 3 months. And the course has not only opened up the possibility for true financial freedom, lifestyle, business in a practical way, that not just in an everything is possible way. She talks about radical shifts to the way I do business as a whole into my lifestyle and providing like deep grounding habits. I have a bunch of testimonials here. They're in the slide deck. I'm not going to read them all. If you have questions and want to talk to Grace, I'm going to stay on for a few minutes of Q&A, but I'm going to come back. Let's see. Spotlight video, stops, share. Yeah, I'm getting good at Zoom, Grace. It's taken a while.
Good job.
It's a learnable skill, but I mean, I just want to, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like it is, maybe it's easier for me to talk a little bit about the experience, but and we skipped over this in the beginning, but like I came in here, I'm a student of Kate's, and I help Kate in admissions because part of what I think my dharmic purpose is to be able to help people who were in the same position that I was in as a studio owner and a yoga teacher, and then needing to have a side job because I wasn't making enough money. It was just like mind blowing to me to see how simple it can be to really create these systems and the strategies, and how it changed my whole life. I mean, we've talked about having my husband come on a podcast. I'm still trying to get
I'm going to do that.
Because for him, it was just like, okay, Grace is going to take another course, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, no, like this time it's going to be it. And 2 years post me coming in through Body Thrive, he actually, I wish I had it. He went down the other day. I was talking to a client down in the basement, and he wrote on a pizza box that just said, like, I can't believe the difference in you, the changes I've seen, how you're helping people. Like, I had to tell the person to hang on, because when I looked over, I started crying. And the difference is just, it's incredible, because it is about lifestyle, and it's about us being able to have the time as wellness pros, or whatever we want to call ourselves, leaders, teachers, to really invest in the experience that people are having, as opposed to not being able to put that together and all of the focus going into the business side of things. Like, once we get that down pat, we're able to really focus on the client experience.
Yeah.
It's incredible. My first year through yoga health coaching, I had 56 people go through. I was not overly confident. I charged $500, and it was like, for me, seeing, holy smokes, I had somebody with MS. She was told, she went through the course 3 times. She was told she was a medical anomaly because they were seeing the lesions on her brain shrinking in her MRIs. You know, like, that's not worth $500, $1,000. I don't know. So I don't want to skip over that. I know, like, you know, like those testimonials are real and important, and yeah, I'm very grateful for the experience, and that's why I'm here. And I would love to talk to anybody who's got questions about this, and is anything that I've said that resonates, doing too many things, not making enough money, burnt out, you know, like, if you're burnt out, I get it. Yeah, let's connect.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that I didn't include this part too in my history, but like, I was a yoga studio owner and working with a lot of our local public yoga teachers. And it's like, as a holistic medicine practitioner, I have all my friends from Ayurveda school and other holistic disciplines, a lot of my colleagues. And it's just like, oh my gosh, we were using the wrong strategy for so long. And honestly, so many of my friends quit. And to me, that's so sad, because I use this business model, and because I teach it, like, it frees up so much equity in terms of time and energy for me, that I'm then able to do all this other cool stuff and have a larger impact. I'm able to, put out 4 podcasts a week that are free. I'm able to write blog posts. I'm able to write books. I'm able to do stuff that supports more people in other ways. I'm able to look at community projects of, like, how do we get this to be a spray-free environment? I'm able to do those things because I have the energy and the time, because the business model works. It's not like a hobby that's taken over my life, right? By trying to make it into a business. It's a business that supports who I am as a human being. And as a human being, how I then impact the experience that people have, that actually deeply influences and evolves with the business. And so to me, I just said a lot in a really short period of time. Many of you guys are going to want to have the replay. What's the career conversation link? I put it in the window, Grace, and it says page not found. I must have a typo in there for people to have a career conversation with you.
I think that's my fault. I think I probably typed it out. And
or is it yoga healer? wellnesspro.com. No, it's on my end. But we'll go into Q&A in just a second. So how do people have a career conversation with you? Do you have that link?
I'll get it. Just one sec.
Okay. And we'll email it to you guys too. I just want everyone to think of a friend too right now that might have, if there's something that, one of the things that we find right away is if you can be talking to another person about some of the ideas here, it's going to be easier for you to have a better strategy for 2018. So if you're, just think of a friend right now, we'll send you the replay, or you can put you can send their name and email to Grace G. We can even just put your email in here, Grace.
Oh, I found it. It's just here. There's no career in there. It's just have dash conversation and my email.
Oh, okay. Oopsie. I'll change that in the slides too before we send them out. I really do recommend, like, if you don't have a friend that's already registered for this, is actually send this. We'll send you a link with the replay tomorrow and with the slides and with the audio. I would re-listen because I said a lot in a really short period of time, and the order of the words in which I speak matters to your understanding. There's a Yoga Sutra about this, right? And something about abhyasa, about the art of repetition, and vairagyam, without putting attention on the results. It's just like repeating. When you're trying to learn a new system, it's important to keep actually repeating this, because otherwise this will just be like another blip, and you'll be like, you actually had access to an incredibly innovative futurist strategy to influence your career, and you could just get back to doing way too many things and waiting, answering the texts and answering the emails and being busy and scheduling the next thing and never getting leverage. And to me, it's a missed opportunity. That career model will end up breaking down. It could end up breaking down your own health. It'll definitely have less of an impact. And so that's kind of what I want to leave you with, is like, it can be so much easier. I hope you talk to Grace. And that's
your work is important. Your work is important. I want to leave you with that. It's so necessary. Like, we are in a state globally. Your work is really important. If you don't get yourself out there and you're not seeing people, you can't do the work. Everybody suffers.
Yeah. And believing in yourself that much to, when you start to understand that your lifestyle important, your desires are important, like what you like and don't like is important. And then you build that all into your experience. All right. So that's a wrap. And I am totally happy to stay for some Q&A. And to ask a question, you can just raise your hand. You can press star 6, or we have a Q&A thing. You can also just type a question into the forum. So Kara has typed in, thank you for writing in, Kara. My question is, I'm not a yoga teacher, so what I would like to know is the Wellness Pro program a good fit for me if I wish to blend my business lifestyle coaching practice with my experience as a certified nutritionist and wellness coach? Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, we need to rename this really into like Body Thrive coaching. And it's, we have a ton of people in who have nothing to do with yoga. Like, one of my friends she is an outdoor guide, and she's starting in yoga health coaching. We don't have I don't have a better name for it, yet, but it'll probably be renamed Body Thrive coaching, because it works. We have a woman in there who's a podiatrist. We have another woman in there who's she's a gynecologist. Yeah, we have a hairdresser. I love.
Well, we have people who weren't even in the wellness industry before. They went through the Body Thrive program with
singers.
Their coach.
We had some singer musicians that were just like wanting to connect more with their people, and people were looking to them because they were thriving, healthy, people that were into like thriving, healthy families. So Kara goes on and says, I'm trying to figure out how to marry both of these passions. My ultimate wish is to create an integrative experience for creatives and makers who wish to build an intentional business that converges creativity and mindful living. Thanks in advance for the advice to help wrap my brain around this. Kara, what I would just say is talk to Grace. You can email her at graceg@yogahealer.com or go to Yoga Health Coaching /
let's dive in.
Yeah, and she'll be able to point you to. We also have a ton of resources. I mean, you can Google to find the resources, or you can just talk to Grace and she can then email you more specifically. We have a lot of free video trainings on different aspects of things. And so that can really accelerate, you trying to find stuff in the world of Yoga Healer and yoga health coaching. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, you can put them in the chat window. And yeah, you're welcome, Juta. I'm so glad you're here. And Kara's writing that she's just taking in the information. Another Kara. That's cool. We have a few Karas. She's a yoga teacher and integrative health coach and just getting her bearings on how to combine the two loves. Yeah, I mean, that to me is so much of the beauty of like when you get the results people want and you design the experience, it has so much to do with your story. It has a lot, for many of us, it has a lot to do with our health histories. It has a lot to do with our healing journeys. It has a lot to do with what we do now that makes the biggest difference. And it's interesting, and a lot, I don't have my infographic thing here, but well, I have this one. I'll show you this one. This is our vision and values at Yoga Healer. It has a lot to do with pulling together people that have the same values, especially if the values are around being a life learner, about growing, about learning, about connecting, about co-creating. And you help them see that like, hey, there's other people, we're going to put us all together. And then it's like evolution on steroids, right? Then a lot can happen in a really short period of time. And that's where we get like, there's an accelerator on this. If you want there to be, like, you can get people. And if someone's suffering from an autoimmune condition or from a disease, and you get them results faster, they feel better sooner. That means a lot to someone. They will pay more money to feel better sooner. And whether they're already spending money in unconscious ways through like internet shopping to try to like assuage their emotional fears or whatnot that people are doing, if you can
Don't tell people what I was doing.
Right. Well, you and everybody else. I mean, it's so people, I mean, when the mind is disconnected from the body, there's all sorts of pathologies that arise, including a lack of integration and where to put resources, whether it's financial resources, energy resources, pranic resources, healing resources, intuitive resources, etc. So the more you can get people really aligned into what they want and help them see that when the dynamic group experience, like the thing that's happening on the bus, I would go back to the slide deck, but you have it. When you go back to the bus, like people show up at retreats, they've maybe seen each other at a forum or whatnot, because all my courses are global online. And they've connected a little. Maybe they've been in a mastermind group. Maybe they've been in an accountability partnership or in a mentoring group within the course, and they know some people. And then they meet. And there's this experience of like, oh my gosh, because we're on the same page and we've gone through the same experiences and we're at the same level, more or less, of evolutionary development. When we connect, it's like all cylinders connect. And they walk away being like, I met my new best friends and I didn't come, like, this is like the kicker. Like, I didn't come looking for a new friend. I wasn't in it to find a new friend. I was in it to feel better. I was in it to redesign my career and align with my lifestyle. I was in it for these other reasons. But because we start to understand the power from behavioral science of dynamic groups, and we take the time and attention to get people ready to be on the bus together and then to get there together, they're just like, oh my gosh, it's so much better, faster, easier. So, whatever that means to you and your story and where you've been, yes, you would build that into your experience. All right, do we have any other questions, Grace, or are we over and out?
I think we're good. I've just messaging back a couple people in the chat window here. Just schedule with me. Let's get on the phone and talk, or Skype, or whatever you want to do. Let's have a conversation. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and a lot's changed. Kate Towell, hey, girlfriend in Seattle. Yeah, you were in YBC years ago. Yeah, things change around here, So if some of you have been in courses in the past, like this is basically what I teach is like what I'm doing next. It's like what the next flow is. The marketplace has changed significantly in the last few years. Some of you may have noticed that. Some of you may have been maybe experienced a lot of like just competition, whether you feel like you're competing with
Gaiam's yoga channel, or you're competing with, WebMD, or you feel like you're competing with some like really heavy hitters. So when you start to understand that you're creating a market with this business model, you're creating something that doesn't exist. And by doing that, there's no competition for you. Like that's part of one of the big changes. And then some of the big changes is just in the actual structure of how to do this. Yeah, that's part of me getting smarter each year. It's kind of awesome. All right, you guys are so welcome. Thank you, Grace. Thanks for being here. It's always a pleasure to hang.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, everybody, and I can't wait to chat.
Yay! And just lastly, like if you could think of a friend that you can do this with and be talking about this with, when we send you the email, the replay, forward it to them, and that'll really get you rolling faster. Bye.